Yes, of course. I learned English in just 9 days. The interesting part is that this method is not difficult at all. When people heard about learning English in 9 days, they thought it meant studying English 24 hours a day for 9 days straight, memorizing endless grammar rules, complicated structures, and cramming vocabulary. But it's not like that at all. It's much easier than other methods like reading grammar books. When I told my friends and family that I learned English in just 9 days, their reactions were the same. No way, that's impossible. But when I explained how I easily learned English in just 9 days, they started wondering if it could really be that simple and effective. Many of them didn't even try the method, some gave up after just 1 or 2 days. Only one of my classmates, who was from Portugal, managed to stick with the method for the full 9 days. And that one person realized that yes, it's possible to learn English in just 9 days. He even thanked me and started using this method to learn other languages. To be honest, I don't know if this method works for other languages, but anyone with some knowledge about English and other languages knows that English is much easier compared to languages like German, French, or Spanish. I won't waste your time. Let me quickly get to the point and tell you how I learned English in just 9 days. But first, I need to explain my situation and why I had to learn it so quickly. Suddenly, my US visa for continuing my studies got approved, and I had to get to California within a very short time. All my classes were in English, and I only had 1 month to learn the language. My English was terrible, basically non existent. Apart from counting to 20, the alphabet, and a few simple words like apple, table, and banana, I knew nothing. I was so stressed that I thought about giving up multiple times. Since I'm technically a native English speaker and hold a British passport, the university didn't ask for an IELTS certificate. But I grew up in Spain and my parents only spoke Spanish, so I could only speak Spanish and had no knowledge of English at all. I told myself I had to learn English in 1 month, no matter what, just enough to understand my professors. Who knew when I'd get another chance like this? With only 30 days left, I started searching on the internet for the shortest and most effective ways to learn English. I watched countless YouTube videos with titles like Learn English in 6 months, Learn English in 30 days, Learn English in 2 hours. I spent 7 days researching, watching videos, buying books, and downloading apps, but nothing worked. I felt hopeless because now I had only 23 days left. One thing I learned from all the content I consumed was that most people had successfully learned a language by focusing on a few key points. Don't focus on grammar except for a few basic rules. Learn words in context, not in isolation. Listen as much as possible. So, I decided to ditch grammar books and complicated structures to save time. I started reading vocabulary books, memorizing around 1,000 words daily, and checking their pronunciation on my phone. It felt like I was learning something, but the pressure of so many words overwhelmed me. The next day, I'd forget everything I had learned the day before. Even worse, I couldn't use the words in sentences. They were useless to me. After 10 days, I still hadn't learned anything, and now I had only 13 days left. I decided to try something new. I reviewed the words I'd learned the day before, studied only commonly used words, and replaced anything Spanish in my daily life with English. From movies and TV shows to my phone's display language, everything was switched to English. I didn't even allow myself to think in Spanish. I stuck to this new method for 3 days and managed to learn some new words, but I ran into a massive problem: time. I didn't have time for anything else. No work, no university, nothing. I even skipped 3 days of classes. On top of that, I started suffering from insomnia and severe headaches. A doctor prescribed a full day of rest, but even after that, I hadn't made any meaningful progress. With only 9 days left, I was ready to quit. But I told myself to keep trying until the last day. After my mandatory rest day, I sat down with a pen and paper to review everything I'd done so far. I asked myself what worked, what didn't, and where I had overdone or overlooked things. My conclusions were memorizing 1,000 words a day was a mistake, but reviewing them was crucial. Learning commonly used words was effective, but skipping grammar entirely wasn't. Immersing myself in English was helpful, but completely ignoring Spanish in my daily life was counterproductive. Finally, I realized I needed to maximize my time by focusing on one, learning the most common words first aligned with example sentences. Two, surrounding myself with English movies, series, songs, even if I didn't understand it. Three, reducing daily vocabulary to 100 words to allow for regular review and long term retention. Four, studying basic grammar rules once and reinforcing them through sentence examples. Here's the method I used in the last 9 days to finally learn English. Step 1. Ask ChatGPT to tell me 100 common academic words and give the most common sentences using those words based on the past simple tense. As you can see, it sent me the most common words, the most common sentences for each word, and examples based on the grammar I asked for. Step 2. Memorize the words and sentences on the same day. Step 3. Review the words and sentences the next day, then again after 3 days, and finally after 7 days to move them into your long-term memory. Step 4. Think in English, interact more with non-native speakers, and temporarily cut off communication with non-native speakers. Watch English movies and listen to English music, not to learn vocabulary, but to train your ears to the language. By day 9, you'll reach your goal. If you're learning English for migration, you'll be ready. If you're preparing for academic purposes like me, you'll confidently attend your classes. If it's for work, you'll easily communicate with English-speaking colleagues. This method worked for me, and I believe it can work for you too.